She's coming. Such a freaking wild.
Oh,
Buster.
very nicely put, Dr. Voss. You could.
But you could.
Too.
Oh, yeah, it was over.
Jermaine's not here.
Mary, jump in the hot
You
seat.
don't need the chairman to start the
No,
meeting.
but
Well, you have vice chair.
It's been said.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, we've heard reporters here. That's good already. Janowski's here.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Meeting is called to order at 7:09 PM. Before we begin our meeting, I ask that everyone please take a moment to silence their cell phones. Thank you. Will the clerk please read the compliance with the Senator Byron Bear Open Public Meetings Act?
In accordance with Section 5 of the Senator Byron Bear Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the annual notice schedule, which contained the time, date, and location of this meeting, copies of which notices were forwarded to the official county newspapers, to wit, the Herald News and the Record, and a copy which was posted on the bulletin board in the Bergen County Justice Center and filed in the Administration Building, 1 Bergen County Plaza, Hackensack, New Jersey, and filed with the Office of the Bergen County Clerk.
Evidence of a will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Chairwoman Amoroso.
Here.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Here.
Freeholder Tinelli.
Here.
Freeholder Voss.
Here.
Freeholder Zer.
Here.
Chairwoman Ortiz.
Here. Evidence of a quorum is present. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Florio, would you lead us?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence as we remember Jeffrey A. Bader. Mr. Bader was a longtime resident of Woodcliff Lake and served the borough in many capacities throughout the years, including 4 terms as a councilman, police and fire commissioner, chairman of buildings and grounds, Triborough Public Safety Commissioner, planning board member, Parks and Recreation Committee member, and president of the Woodcliff Lake Baseball Association. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and loved ones. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a presentation in honor of National Volunteer Month, Resolution 42419. The County of Bergen has countless volunteers who dedicate their time to seniors, victims of domestic violence, animals, and many more. We are honored to have with us tonight Ms. Deborah Yankow, Division Director of the Animal Shelter and Adoption Center, David Cohen, Director of Alternatives to Domestic Violence, along with Susan DiGiacomo and Bergen Resource Center. Would everyone please join us at the podium to receive your commendations? That's all. I don't have it. Oh, I'm sorry, Lynn Albrecht, I didn't see. Please join us, I'm sorry.
Come on up. Come on up.
Hey. Oh, my God. Oh, relax.
Nice to see you, how are you?
I'll let y'all free.
Thank you. Yes, well, do you want to do that first?
Read, you want to read?
Yeah, let me read the commendation.
Okay.
I have all of ours.
Okay.
So in honor of your work with the Bergen Volunteer, this is the Bergen Volunteer Center, in recognition of a lifetime of service, including, this is for Bergen Leeds, and as a councilman of Englewood, that's, right, I'm sorry, Lynn.
No, that's okay. Thank you so much.
In recognition of being honored during National Volunteer Month and for the outstanding support you provide to the victims of, this is for ABV, domestic violence at Bergen County's Municipal Police Department on behalf of Alternative to Domestic Violence Response Team Program. This is to Thank you so much. Thank you.
Want to do a picture of everybody?
Yes.
Want to do a picture of everybody?
Yes.
He's not a volunteer. Everybody come on in so we can picture together. One, we'll do a picture of everybody and then we'll do the individual divisions. Why don't we do that? We'll picture of everybody and then
Okay. So,
okay?
I'm like, no.
Stay in the front.
Here's the, what's her name? Oh, you read the little script like that?
Yeah, you want to read for our animal shelter.
Okay, in recognition of being honored during National Volunteer Month and appreciation of your dedication to helping animals within the county of Bergen.
We love you for loving them. Thank you.
Where are the cats?
They really are. Are they? Oh, they do. Let her bring them up there a week ago. Oh, because we would have never gotten to our meeting, that's why. Here's down there. They're down there watching them.
Freeholder Tenelli would like 2 cats, please. And somewhere to live.
Coming
Thank you all. Thank you.
I want to do one with ADV and then one with, I want to do one.
What a difference?
Yes.
With the money, I don't care what you have to tax, what kind of taxpayers.
Don't say that. We did it all very.
I don't live in the county.
Would it be possible to do the same? Yes. You want to do the animal shelter?
Oh, we can do the animal
Do the
shelter.
animal shelter right now.
All right, we'll do animal shelter first.
Your biggest fans.
But I would like to say something. You look, I think, give us all.
Well, we'll save them.
Yeah. Can we get all the animal shelter folks? And then we'll do the
Backyard.
ADV and then we'll do. But the animal shelter's the biggest. You need to be in the front and center.
Yes, that should be coming within the next month or so. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Actually, 5'8", yeah, but I rounded.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Normally you give them all day long. I used to be 5'7". ATV next.
Lou, we're taking a
Tony,
picture.
Tony, come on.
You should have put more.
Come on. You're like the herald of
So what are you doing there? Low blow. Well, he's a man, that's what I meant. I don't take it personally.
Volunteer Center's next? Yes. Lynn, can we do one with just Lynn?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And the Volunteer Center.
Hi, right there.
Freeholder
Gans. How are you, my friend?
Okay.
Yeah, we have yellow matching.
You know, everyone wants to be like me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. Steve, you should probably keep those close to yourself.
Good, okay.
Okay,
We good?
you want any more?
No, I want,
Smartest kid in class.
comments. So,
Okay.
It's not my job.
thank you.
Good evening. So on behalf of Alternatives to Domestic Violence, ADV, we're really elated that we can recognize our volunteers this evening. As you know, we are Bergen County's lead domestic violence agency, and that entails a great deal of work on a lot of levels, and we really wouldn't be able to do everything that we do without the assistance of our volunteers. We have volunteers operating our 24/7 hotline. Other volunteers are involved with our court accompaniment program every day in Superior Court, Domestic Violence Court. We have volunteers who actually give moral support to victims during their restraining order hearings. We have our domestic violence crisis response teams, which cover the entire county. These volunteers actually get called out, could be any hour of the night, to municipal police stations to meet with domestic violence victims and kind of give them a little guidance on where they can go from there. And of course, our incredible attorneys who are involved with our domestic violence legal advocacy project, who provide their services pro bono to specified victims of domestic violence who qualify for that program. So really, it's a wonderful opportunity to recognize them, and thank you very much. And thank you.
Yes, please.
Next time you have trouble getting those kids up here, you call us.
Yeah, that's
Catch
right,
under
we'll
my
get
belt.
him.
Good evening, Freeholder Board. First, I want to take this opportunity to personally thank all of you for all the support that you give to the shelter, to me, and to the animals that we're entrusted with. We have a shelter since 2015 that has doubled its intake. So we are growing and growing and growing, and we are taking care of more and more animals. And this group of volunteers is an integral piece of us helping these animals, getting them to be adoptable, socializing them, making hopefully their short stay with us, one that is filled with socialization and training and love. And I have a group that loves them. So, and that's why we're doing this. And I cannot thank them enough for what they do for us. So thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
And Lynn?
Yes, I'm Lynn Allgrant, CEO of the Bergen Volunteer Center. First of all, Freeholder Board, thank you so much for this wonderful evening and the opportunity to be with such illustrious colleagues. As CEO of the Bergen Volunteer Center, I monitor a lot of statistics about volunteerism. And from the National Commission on Service and Volunteerism, New Jersey routinely ranks 45th or 46th in states in terms of volunteerism. And I have to say, I'm here to say, on behalf of my own organization and all these other organizations and the county that we know, I don't recognize that as our community. So I think we have a counting problem and a measuring problem. And so, because in my organization alone in 2018, volunteers in our work clocked over 25,000 hours. Wow. Over 130,000 views of opportunities, volunteer opportunities were viewed in our database for other nonprofit organizations. And we are acutely aware of volunteer ambulance corps, volunteer firefighters, school boards, zoning boards, PTOs, Little Leagues, Scouts, and faith groups. Through our civic leadership and civic engagement and promotion of volunteerism, we see a county that is literally run on the power of volunteers, of people committed to turning their caring into meaningful action. So thank you for recognizing the power of volunteers and the impact they bring. In 2018, the Federal Department of Labor gave volunteers a raise. Volunteer hours are now worth $25.43 an hour. And so just in my organization alone, those 25,000 hours at $25 an hour is over $636,000 worth of value. That's 50% of my budget. Right? So my paid staff is managing people who are multiplying our work, and I think that's probably true of everybody here and everybody who couldn't be here tonight. So we really look forward to continuing to promote volunteerism in the county and celebrating volunteerism in the county and working with you and hand in hand with lots of other organizations to figure out how we can measure and count better so that New Jersey can rise in the rankings. Thanks for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, and it shouldn't be the month of April to thank you, because we thank you all year round for your hard work and your dedicated commitment on a daily basis. If it wasn't for you and your dedication, you would not be out in the communities and actually for the communities, for them to benefit from all the wonderful services and programs that we offer here at the county. So if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't be possible. And we can't thank you again for what everybody does. It's definitely invaluable, everything you do. Thank you so, so much. Anybody else?
Chairwoman, if I may?
Yes.
I just want to also echo, you guys are the backbone of what makes so much of what we're doing go. Without your blood, sweat, and tears, you're taking this home with you. You're putting your whole selves in and giving such valuable time, love, and energy to every aspect of those in need in our community. And so for all of that, we are so grateful. As one who's involved in trying to stimulate that next generation, I've been working with kids in 5th through 8th grade, trying to get them to do more community service in an interfaith way. I know how important the work is, and what you inspire by your actions is really so tremendously meaningful. So, I love the way you said it, Lynn, turning the power of caring into meaningful action. You guys do that every single day, and we couldn't be more thankful for it. So, thank you.
Chairwoman? Just very quickly, Sheriff uses this term, force multiplier. And that is what you guys are out there doing. The dollars that we put out for services, you are multiplying with love and energy, and we are really so grateful for all of you. And Volunteer Center, we love all the different things that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We will now have the hearing of the general public with a 3-minute time limit in effect in accordance with Bergen County Freeholder bylaws. The board attorney will keep the time. When the time of the speaker expires, the board attorney will announce the time has expired. Please fill out the slip of paper with your name, address, and general topic which you wish to speak about. Ken Dulski.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to talk to you this evening about the relationship between autism and air pollution. An article in the April 12, 2019 edition of the Star-Ledger recently reported on the results of a new study showing a 43% jump in autism among 4-year-olds in New Jersey. The article stated, the rate of 4-year-old children with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, in New Jersey rose by 43% over 4 years, according to a report released by the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In New Jersey, the rate of autism is now 1 in 35 among 4-year-olds. That's about 3%. This is the highest rate of autism among all states studied, and it is expected to increase in coming years. This increase appears to reflect actual growth in the rate of children with autism, not only more diagnoses. In addition, the study was based on birth record data, which eliminated the possibility that the increase in New Jersey was due to people coming from other states to access services here. While the causes of autism may be many and are not well understood, a 2015 article on the National Center for Biotechnology Information website cites evidence that air pollution is a serious contender for being a contributing factor to autism. The article states, in the last decade, several studies have examined the association between prenatal exposure to ambient air pollution and the risk of ASD. These studies have largely been consistent with associations seen in different aspects of air pollution, including hazardous air toxics, ozone, particulate matter, and traffic-related pollution. 2 recent studies of air pollution and ASD present findings that strongly argue against residual confounding, meaning that there may be several causes apparently, that may be in the area, but they can isolate it to air pollution, especially for factors that do not vary over relatively short time intervals. These 2 studies conducted in communities around the U.S. found a specific association with air pollution exposure during the 3rd, but not the 1st trimester, when both trimesters were modeled simultaneously. Given the general consistency of findings across studies, the overall evidence for a causal association between air pollution and ASD is increasingly compelling. Freeholders, your constituents are counting on you to protect them, not sitting idle while new sources of this heart-rending disorder are being added to the environment. We ask that you please put a resolution opposing the Meadowlands Power Plant on your agenda. Thank you very much.
Lawrence White.
Good evening, Chairwoman Ortiz and members of the Freeholders Board and other county officials. My name is Lawrence White. I'm an 18-year resident and taxpayer in Bergen County and presently the chairperson of the Bergen County Immigration Strategy Group. I'm here today to openly question the use of revenue from the ICE bed contract for undocumented detainees at the Bergen County Jail. According to the published figures for 2018, last year the county budgeted $7,638,000 for the care of undocumented detainees in the county jail, but received $17,436,000, an overage of $9,780,000. This year's budget projects revenue of $16,125,000. Even if there was a substantial increase in the detainee population, the revenue increase alone was greater than the 2018 projected cost of caring for the detainees. In fact, $17,436,000 was the largest single revenue source for Bergen County in 2018. The county claims that the ICE contract money is just another revenue stream for the county coffers and that there is no one-to-one correlation with ICE revenue and the expense of caring for the undocumented detainees. In fact, ICE contract revenue is good for Bergen County. County Executive Tedesco, in his budget PowerPoint presentation this year, claimed that the property tax increase for 2019 would be $9.50 per household, less than the cost of a cheese pizza. He failed to mention that the $9.8 million surplus from the ICE contract allowed this small tax increase. The income has risen from $55,000 a month in 2015 to $1,114,000 last year, and the average detainee population has risen from 147 in 2016 to 430 in 2018. The fact that the freeholders are using the surplus from the ICE contract to balance the county budget is a travesty. I'm sure that the citizens of Bergen County would be willing to give up a lot more than the cost of a pizza to know that they were not complicit in prosecuting the Trump administration's draconian immigration policy. New Jersey has one of the largest immigrant populations in the country. They are our friends and our workmates and our neighbors and make a substantial contribution to the social and economic well-being of our state. We all have immigrant roots, and we must extend the same promise of America that was given to our ancestors to those who have come in recent years. I demand that the county do an internal audit to determine the cost of caring for the detainee population and use the surplus of the ICE contract revenue to enhance services to the detainees and make substantial contributions to the woefully underfunded Universal Representation Fund that the state established last year to provide legal aid to all undocumented immigrants in New Jersey facing deportation. Thank you.
Thank you. David Moraine.
Yeah, M-A-R-A-I-N. Good evening, everybody. My first time speaking at a Freeholders meeting. I have no notes. I'm not your adversary. I have trouble sleeping at night thinking about families being torn apart, people I know. And my biggest concern is if there are criminals being held among the detainees, then you are helping to protect our safety. My question is, when the detainees arrive, they have some information from ICE, and the sheriff's department has shared the information with you, I'm sure. One of those pieces of information is a risk assessment where the sheriff is made aware of the level of risk for each one of these detainees. so they can separate them and keep everybody safe. My concern is not just about separating and keeping them safe. My concern is if they are a zero risk or low risk to our community and our county, I can't live with myself knowing that I'm part of the county paying taxes and knowing these individuals have been separated from their families and they are not a risk. So my question is, are each of you given this information? What is the risk level? What percentage are at the lowest risk or the next lowest risk, meaning they are not a risk to me or my family or others? And if you don't have this information, can you get it for me? I did an Oprah request for this. I haven't received the information. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have been given the information about risk assessment? Can I just see a show of hands? Are you all given that information?
What information?
Are you given a document, or have you been told by the sheriff that we have 3% lowest risk, 5% next risk, 40% high risk, and so on? Has this information been given to you? I would just like to get a sense by a show of hands. No. Well, that is my concern. That's why I'm here. I want to know if there are low-risk people, human beings. It's a human rights issue for me because I give a damn. I care. I want them out of there. This is not dollars and cents. This is human beings. Thank you.
Tomasona Schwartz.
Pretty close. Thomasina,
Oh, Thomasina.
probably.
That's right, Thomasina.
Do I have to? No, I'm kidding. It's Thomasina, excuse me, Tomasina. Schwartz, Schwarz. Okay, so now that it's clear that my name is representative of two quite different ethnicities, Thomasina being Italian, Schwartz being German. Most of my life, though, people have said Happy Hanukkah to me, and I just have learned to say thank you. Honestly, no matter how many times I tell people I'm not Jewish, like people I know, like coworkers, they still say it, and I just say thank you. Okay, so that being said, my dad was what Trump calls an anchor baby. I would not be standing here if anchor babies did not exist. And I just want to make that clear because my father came here when he was 7 years old, and that was in 1938. And thank goodness he was an anchor baby because that allowed my grandparents to be legal residents and then become citizens. So that being said, I support all people who want to come to this country as long as they're not coming here to hurt anyone, and especially children. I am a social studies teacher, and I have had children cry right in front of me when they find out that they were undocumented. Many of them do not even know. And I'm getting emotional here because when you have that child standing in front of you and they just found out, it's very real for them. And then it becomes real for teachers and everybody in the community. So I don't mean to get teary-eyed, but it's real. And so I support all these people that we're holding. And one thing that gets me more angry than anything, I know you may have a choice in holding them. I wish you would choose not to and maybe just let somebody else do the dirty work of what's going on in this country. However, I don't think we should be making money because we're really not making money. We're paying the federal government to detain them. So it's kind of just my federal taxes are now being used to offset property taxes, and I don't agree with that. I'm a resident here in Bergen County for 25 years. I own my own home for 23 years. So I've been paying very high Bergen County taxes. And I understand they're high and people are happy to get relief. But we should not be making money off our own government. It's kind of doesn't make any sense. So the first thing I'm going to say is let's just stop doing that and only charge the federal government what it costs us to detain these people, if we have to detain them. Or you can choose not to. But at least if we're going to detain these people, let's not use that money to offset property taxes.
3 minutes, Ms. Schwartz.
And so it was my first meeting, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Sari Kutch.
My name is Sari Kutch. I'm a S-A-R-I-K-U-T-C-H. I'm a resident of Fort Lee. I'm also a Democratic Committee woman for the 19th Electoral District. I had a whole bunch written down. First I want to say I'm also a member of the Bergen County Immigration Strategy Group, which my previous speakers have so eloquently addressed the same concerns that I have. So I'm here to support that issue, as well as a concerned voter, and just to address the issue of the new voting machines. So I have a whole bunch written down, but I'll just simply say that, I look forward to the replacement of our insecure electronic voting machines that have no paper record of each citizen's vote. This investment of taxpayer dollars by our county should be open and transparent. And our county government should actively solicit the opinion of the voters. I'm concerned about two things. First, the security of our vote, and second, the cost of the equipment. Security experts not in the employ of voting machine manufacturers agree that hand-marked paper ballots with an optical scan counter at the polling place are the most secure. This also appears to be the most economical system, as only 2 machines would be required per polling place. 1 optical scan machine and 1 auto marking device for voters with disabilities. So I urge you to prioritize the integrity of our votes and for us to get the best value for our tax dollars. Thank you for your consideration.
Corinne Murphy.
Corinne Murphy, C-A-R-I-N-N-E, Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y. I'm a Park Ridge resident. I was very disappointed by my elected officials. One, by their behavior at the meeting at the Bergen County Jail budget hearing, 1. And 2, that my freeholders weren't asking the pertinent questions about where our money was going. Just a few examples. Bergen County freeholders bartered and joked around about how much money was being spent on office supplies, including paper clips. I would like to point out that the Bergen County Sheriff did not ask for much budgeted money for the interior repairs for the jail due to the fact that the prisoners work very hard upkeeping everything. How come no one asked? How much do these prisoners get paid for their hard labor? How much money does the jail collect from the food vendor? Questions were asked about what services are paid for the canines once they retire, but no one asked about the sheriff's or the office staff's benefits once they retire. It was very disappointing, to say the least. The Bergen County Sheriff then went on about how his jail is a playground. A jail, his playground. He seemed annoyed about bail reform, which in my opinion makes perfect sense in Bergen County. If you look at the 2017 census for Bergen County, we have in our county white 53%, Hispanic 17%, black people 7%. Immigrants in our county, mostly Eastern European, second largest group Koreans. Do you know who's in our jail? I can tell you, mostly Hispanic and black people. So I'm happy about bail reform. Now let's get to the immigrants. We already discussed that there's $9 million that nobody from my freeholder board asked where that money is and what it's going towards. Not one freeholder. Very disappointing. I can tell you that that ICE, which is our federal tax dollars, gives to the jail a rate of $110 per day per immigrant. Again, $9 million of that money is unaccounted for, no questions asked. I asked if the freeholders and the Bergen County Sheriff want to continue being complicit in Trump's immigration policies and continue to jail innocent or civil offenders. These are not all MS-13s that are sitting in that jail. These are people with civil offenses being jailed, and we're getting $110 a day for it, and we're being complicit, not ending this contract. The county sheriff can put something in writing, and in 30 days, that contract will be over. Why don't we take that unaccounted money and take our sheriffs that are wasting time babysitting civil offenders and put them out on the streets? We need domestic violence education. We know about our ADV and our Center for Hope and Safety in Bergen County.
3 minutes, Ms. Murphy.
And our other programs that can be used. How about a release program? Why don't we take that money, release these people, and send them back to their sponsors? Thank you, and have a great evening.
Alexis Larkin.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Larkin, Larkin, and I'm from Glen Rock. I, too, am here to talk about the revenue and cost to the county of holding immigrants at the Bergen County Jail. I've been asking about accounting on these issues since the beginning of February. I've appeared before you twice to ask questions, and I've submitted 2 public records requests. In fact, my first records request, I used the exact language that the county administrator helped me with the first time I came to you to ask about this. Nobody in the county can tell me how much it costs the county to perform its obligations under this contract. Just from a matter of good government, that doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody else already talked about the revenue under this contract. It's over $16 million a year, and no one knows how much it costs the county to generate that revenue. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So my first request to you would be, find out how much that costs, and once you know, tell all of us. My second request is that if the issue is that the cash payments under the contract are treated as general revenue, I'd ask that you create a trust for the contract and treat this as trust revenue so that you and all of the residents in the county can see how that revenue is specifically spent. So because I don't have any of that information, all I can look at is what's been presented. And so I looked at the sheriff's budget presentation and the sheriff pages from the proposed budget. And I want to remind you all of this picture. You saw it at the sheriff's budget presentation. It's the slide marked expenses versus revenue. I have to ask you, is this normal for a law enforcement agency to see skyrocketing revenue with very little increase in costs? I mean, as a resident, something strikes me as very odd here. And I think it goes to the comments that, the other fellow residents made tonight. And when I look at this, I want to tell you what I see as a resident. To me, as a resident, I have the heartbreaking conclusion that you're running a for-profit immigrant detention center at our jail. And it is absolutely heartbreaking to me. I will leave it to the experts at First Friends and American Friends Service Committee and the other groups that you're working with on whether you should end the contract or not, whether it's better to have detainees at this jail or not. But I'm an expert at being a resident in Bergen County. I've lived here for over 10 years. And I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with us profiting from the detention of these people. And so once you figure out how much we're making,